Hey guys, so today you and I are going to talk about motivated teams. So let's get into it. So the question in question was, Frederick, how do you build a team of motivated engineers? Well, you sort of have to be, in a sense I would say that it's in many ways similar to being a parent or a coach or something like that. Well, a coach for a little league or something like that, where you're working. I mean, you're working with very smart people. You're working with adults, but if you want to make them highly motivated and committed, that part isn't so hard. I would say any manager of any worth will be able to do that. I think. But what's difficult is, I find, to find the balance between keeping people happy and keeping them happy by being productive, if that makes sense. Because the thing is, it is easy to be nice to people and make them feel like, oh yes, like it's fun to work here, or like it's etc etc. But the key component that really is, I believe, the sweet spot, which is so difficult for a lot of people to achieve, is to make them happy that they are doing something that is truly value building for the company. That is more difficult. It's very difficult for the average company to achieve. And if you can do that, that is the perfect state. There's nothing better, because the problem is that if you just keep people motivated, well, that's easy. The average software developer, apart from, if we now just kind of ignore salaries and like all this stuff that you sort of can give people, the main factors are usually autonomy. Software developers feel that have a sensation of that they can make the changes that they want. They can make meaningful contributions to the code base. They feel they have enough time. They feel they understand how to do things. They don't have a lot of dependencies. These sorts of things. They can make confident changes to the system and feel like they're doing a good job. That sensation is very important. And then a little bit of experimentation and being able to sort of like try things out and so forth without a lot of emotional consequences and things like that. These are good things, and to me I've always found that to be analogous almost to children playing in a sandbox or something like that. There has to be a sensation of meaning as well, where the software team feels like they're making a meaningful contribution to some sort. But at the end of the day, I always find that to be very similar to children in a sandbox, because some software developers, they are perfectly happy to just kind of fuck around with things and not really they don't focus, they don't care all that much about the impact of the work that they are doing in the company, if that makes sense. I mean, people want to feel like the things they are doing are meaningful, but there's not necessarily a strict requirement for that. A lot of software developers that I've worked with, some of them are extreme cases, were as happy as could be by sitting in mob coding sessions all day long, or having endless discussions about philosophical topics related to programming. And I like to say that this is a person who, they're not mean, they're not being a bad person, they are a breather of unproductivity. They're dangerous in a different way, because their value system and the thing that motivates them is a killer to the revenue stream of the company. And it came at a fairly big cost to a lot of the other software developers who felt motivated by different means. So to make a whole team productive and still have them motivated and productive in a meaningful and useful way to the company, I think that that is a better way to structure your team than just having them motivated, because, as I said, motivating people is actually really, really simple. They need a sensation of purpose, a sensation of autonomy, and some type like trust and camaraderie between in the environment, like a safe environment. These are the three things that keep people motivated. But the thing that goes lacking in there is that just tells you the things that you have to provide. It doesn't necessarily fit into the bigger perspective of what the company needs. And so what I like to do is to talk to the teams that I work with and make it to create an environment where personal accountability for the success of the company is baked in. There is no you just did what you were told. There is no, yeah, this was just a story, I didn't really reflect so much about it. You are personally accountable for talking to your coworkers, creating an environment where you evaluate all the work that you are doing, and you're actually there to make a difference. That is a very different mindset, and the key element there is that that mindset is not found in all people. You can't train that in some cases, and that is the factor that some people don't consider when they build a software team. The people that you start with matter. I do not hire in the teams that I run. I don't hire people who don't have this ability, because there are people who are not interested in doing to serving a purpose or to contribute in a meaningful way to a company. They can't actually commit to something other than themselves and their own personal enjoyment. And that's a person that cannot be in a team like this. Keeping such a person motivated will be not that tricky actually, but you're never going to get that person to be motivated by helping the company. And I managed to create teams like these in small startups where the incentive and personal accountability is fairly high, but also in really large corporations where, like we were talking about, they could literally pay us to do nothing and still survive. But that's where it gets really tricky. How do you make people committed to such a large organization or the success of such a large organization? And all of these factors that play into the motivation of someone has to start with one fundamental thing, and that is that the person that you are betting on within the team, the people because they need the same things as everybody else. It's just that they have to have a very strong desire to help, to do a good job, to contribute in a meaningful way and take responsibility for the success of whatever you're doing, regardless of what you are doing. That is the key element, because such a person will see the value in what they are doing without making it all about themselves. They will be able to prioritize what is good for everybody or for the company, as opposed to what is fun and convenient for them, and still feel happy, which is the key. Like that, I hope that makes sense. Like, you have to have people who care. I mean, everybody cares about themselves, but you cannot have someone who feels inconvenienced when they have to make some tough choices. That sensation of meaning and belonging, it's sort of the same thing you look for in a good soldier. A soldier who is willing to die for their country or like to sacrifice themselves. That is what the ideal soldier. Here it's a little bit different. You're not looking for someone to die necessarily. You're looking for someone who understands that, there are all these fancy tools, there are all these sort of things that we could be doing, but what I really have to focus on here is to create a sustainable solution so that the company is going to continue that things are going to continue working, to provide that value to the stakeholders. That is a very different way of working for a lot of people, because a lot of people, as I said, they don't actually think so much. Like, they not necessarily. I've worked with tons of people like that who don't actually care or think at all about the end users, about the sustainability of the company. They're sort of like, I've worked with teams like they just create a monolithic super system of microservices that slows down the entire work process. It actually is crippling the entire company. They don't give a shit. They're happy as can be because they're doing microservices, because they don't care about the company. They care about how fun it is for them to fuck around at work. So what I want you to take away from this is that the way that you build a motivated team is very easy, actually. You need to have the social skills first and foremost to do this, but the number one thing is that there has to be a sensation of autonomy. Like they need to feel like, yeah, this is our playground, our sandbox. We can sort of play around with things, move things around. They need to feel a sensation of purpose. They must feel that the thing that they are doing has some type of value, because meaningless work is not fun for most people. And then you have to make sure that the people who were working together have a good sort of chemistry between each other, because the people around us are the people who make the biggest difference usually. It's they have the largest effect on the individual. And then I add as a last one, it is really important that you structure a work process. If you have a good tech lead or an engineering manager or someone who really knows their stuff, how to set things up and to and make like good technical decisions, uh, and pair that with the sort of people who are just really hungry for making a difference. They want to feel like they are meaningfully contributing to some end state or end goal, and their priority is to do a good job on behalf of who they are working for, as opposed to just catering to their own needs. Then you have the possibility of creating a motivated team that is not just motivated and enjoys the company of the rest of the team, but actually are going to become a powerhouse that helps the company grow. That is the perfect situation for everybody involved. Have a great day.